Good morning. Welcome into Let's Bet It here on Pickswise and Pickswise.com. I'm Mark Zinno. He's Jared Smith. Let's Bet It is brought to you by our friends at Superbook Sports. A big championship Sunday on deck for you guys, but make sure you subscribe to the Pickswise YouTube channel. Give a thumbs up and a like to the content there as well. Make sure you download the Pickswise app. It's available on the Apple Store and Google Play. Appreciate you joining us here. Obviously, we will get through both sides of the championship Sunday, AFC and NFC. Bobby Stanley will join us, a.k.a. Prop Holiday. We'll have our plays of the day. Jared, good morning. 3 games left in the NFL season, but this is a big one. You know, I've always heard professional football players and athletes always tell me about championship Sunday and saying, in most cases, this is the harder game than the Super Bowl itself.
Yeah, I think there's a finality to the season today, even though it doesn't officially end today, in terms of the way that we prepare, in terms of the routine, the process, the multiple windows, multiple games, trying to, mangle it all into one prediction for who's going to win and who's going to end up in Phoenix in a couple of weeks, or Glendale, I guess. And then once we get past today, there's this lull and this, kind of letdown almost, like, oh, there's only one game left. So there really is a finale. I know it's not the final game today, but it is, to me, it feels very much like the final day of the NFL regular normal season. And then we get to like this ridiculous spectacle that's the Super Bowl, that is like a standalone event that's basically like its own personal holiday. So there is a bit of a nostalgia to today, and I totally understand why some of the players feel that way as well.
All right. Well, look, we have a lot to get to here, so let's get right into it here, starting with the NFC Championship game. Number has stayed pretty much steady since it opened, Jared, at Eagles -2.5. Total sitting around 46.5, depending on where you're shopping around here. Again, I probably think that total might be a little bit high, but this is the top 3 offense with the Philadelphia Eagles in the league right now. I'm seeing more 45s and 45.5 across the board right now on the total number. But regardless, this is all about the San Francisco 49ers defense versus the Philadelphia Eagles offense. And can Brock Purdy seem to survive another week of, hey, I can do things you never thought I can do?
Yeah, that's going to be definitely one of the interesting matchups. It's actually funny. This is why I love the fact that Superbook is the sponsor of our show, because I do think they are one of the few originators with NFL lines, and they are originating a little bit of a move to 3 here. About an hour ago, actually, I take that back, about 30 minutes ago, it moved to 3, and then it got bought quickly back down to a very juiced 3, like let's call it 2.75. And that's currently where we're sitting. If you want to bet the Eagles -3, you're going to get even odds for it, and you're going to lay 20 cents if you want to bet the Niners +3. And you mentioned the total moving down. That's what I'm seeing here too. About a half-point move from 45.5 now down to 45, and they're the only shop onshore, at least the major shops, the ones that we care about, that are hanging 45. I'm seeing a lot of 45.5s, even 146 out there. So it does look like the sharper shops are trending towards Philly and the under. To me, that's the market telling us what the right side is, quote unquote. Does that mean Philly is going to win and the under is going to hit? No. Game starts, anything can freaking happen. But the sharp money, the market is telling me Philly and the under today. That's what the line movement is indicating.
Yeah, again, I have been on San Fran all week long. I'm not going to walk away from the defense. I've seen it too many times throughout the NFL playoffs. You see these great defenses and what they're capable of and how they can change the game, force turnovers and everything else. And I go back to the most recent example, which was 2015 in the Denver Broncos with Peyton Manning and his duck arm at that point in time in his career. Just watching a Denver defense dismantle teams all the way through to the Super Bowl. And there are multiple examples of it through history. This is one of the best defenses I've seen easily in the last 5 years, if not the best defense. And with all deference to Aaron Donald and the Rams and Von Miller and everything that they did, this defense is still better than that. And I think the numbers bear that out, Jared. So I'm not going to get away from taking points with a defense like this. Am I a little scared about Brock Purdy? Yeah. I mean, what did we say last week when I gave out the under? That his measure of success was going to look different, right? Like he wasn't going to have a 300-yard passing game. He wasn't going to throw for 3 touchdowns. His measure of success was don't turn the football over. And he didn't. And San Francisco was able to win the game. I think that's the same measure you're looking for out of him this week. But if Philadelphia can force a turnover, then guess what? That could be the game-changing play. So it certainly will be interesting to see how it all shakes out. And the under, by the way, 4-0 in the last 4 meetings between these two teams. Any feeling on the total, though? I mean, other than what the sharp side looks like here, I'm surprised, again, this number isn't closer to 44.
Yeah, 44, it seems like we're trending that way.
But all week it was sitting at 46.5, right? It kind of held steady at that number.
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion on the total. I think it depends on what the vibe of the game is. I can see this game being a bit of a pass funnel because if the game script plays out the way that every Eagles game is played out this year, they get off to a really fast start. They're up 10, 14, nothing in the first half, and San Francisco has to chase the game. And that takes away from them being able to run the ball, which is what they want to do. And also the running back injuries are very prominent. McCaffrey's calf is pretty nicked up. Mitchell's not even going to play. They elevated Tevin Coleman. So that takes away their ability to run the ball and control the clock. So I think in order for their offense to be successful, they're going to have to throw the ball, which plays right into the Eagles' hands because that's what they do best is they defend the pass. So if the Niners can't run it effectively, and I'll be honest, I don't know, as good as their offensive line is, it's not light years ahead of the Giants and those other teams to where they're going to be able to just completely block out what the Eagles. Like the Eagles are going to get a lot of pressure in this game. It's all about how Brock handles the pressure. I think he's in a better position to handle the pressure than Daniel Jones was because unlike Daniel Jones, he has Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle and other guys that can relieve that pressure. Whereas Daniel Jones is chucking it up to Richie James and Darius Slayton. And so I think it's going to be an interesting strategy. Now, if the script goes the other way and the Niners get off to a really fast start and all of a sudden it's 10-0 San Francisco in the first half and Jalen Hurts is struggling a little bit, a little pressure on him, then I could see the under being a more prominent, it could be like a 17-10 kind of game. But I think if Philly gets their foot on the accelerator early, they're not gonna let up, and then the Niners are gonna have to throw and match, and that's where I think this game the total might get a little bit out of hand. But I agree. I do think if I was going to bet the total, I would bet the under as long as it's over that keyed number of 44. But I don't have a strong opinion because I do think there might be a pass funnel in this game if Philly gets off to a fast start.
All right, let's flip over to the AFC Championship game with the injury that has wreaked havoc with lines all over the place. Let's just put this in context here. A couple of shops opened this at Kansas City -3. It was quickly bet down to Kansas City -1. And then by Monday, where it settled in at -1, it flipped to Cincinnati as the favorite, as many people decided that Patrick Mahomes' injury was scary enough to think that Kansas City could have won this game. Cincinnati became a favorite that hit as high as -2. Cincinnati laying 2 points before we see a video of Patrick Mahomes running in a straight line on the internet. And all of a sudden, we flip the line back to KC as a favorite where we've settled in right now with Kansas City laying 2 points here, 1.5 in certain shops, depending on where you look around. So we are right back to where we started as far as this line is concerned. A lot of this, Jared, obviously with the injury to Patrick Mahomes and everybody being a doctor on the internet trying to figure out what his status is going to be. The bottom line here is this, and this is the way I've said it from the beginning. He's not going to be 100%. What do you know about what less than 100% for Patrick Mahomes is? I know it's still about 80% better than most of the quarterbacks in the league. So, whatever Patrick Mahomes is at, it's still better than 80% of the quarterbacks in this league. So that's enough for me to sit here and think Kansas City still has a very legitimate shot to win this game, despite the fact that Cincinnati has won 3 straight against them. So where are you on this?
Yeah, I don't take any stock at all in the 3 straight wins against the Chiefs. The Chiefs had a 75% win percentage in the fourth quarter of all 3 games.
Went into the fourth quarter leading in all those games.
Those games, and the Bengals won each game by field goal. Those games could have gone either way. And it just so happened that 3 coin flips in a row landed Burrow when they could have landed Mahomes. So, like the whole narrative of, the Bengals own the Chiefs and the Burrowhead Stadium that the Chiefs players even poked fun at during the press conferences this week, that is such a meaningless storyline in this game that I don't even consider it at all. The things that I do consider, obviously, how healthy is Mahomes? We're guessing here, guys. We're guessing. But my best guess is when I see other transcendent athletes go through, let's call it a minor injury. It's not an ACL, it's not a broken bone, it's a sprained ankle. It's a high ankle sprain, so it's a significant ankle sprain. But at the end of the day, would Michael Jordan, would Kobe Bryant, would those guys miss a finals game if they had a sprained ankle? The answer is no, and I would bet that most of them would probably play better. Because when you are, I'm not one of these people, so I can't speak to this, but the transcendent athletes of our generation, of our time that we can watch and absorb, when they have adversity strike, and it's personal physical adversity in their own body, these guys have this hyper focus where they can just lock in. And I don't want to say play above it, because it's still going to affect him, I'm sure, at some point. But I don't think it's going to impact him as much as we think. And I think the market told us that this week. When we didn't know what we were looking at, it was, oh my God, Bengals are going to win this game. They're favored. And then all of a sudden we're like, wait a minute. Patrick still looks relatively mobile out there. He's prancing around on the field. Yeah, he's going to be okay. And then the other element to this is Andy Reid. Unlike Saturday, when he got hurt and you put Henny in, and all of a sudden all hell breaks loose because Henny's in and then Mahomes wants to come back in. What game plan do you run? Now, Andy Reid has 7 full days to get the best plays in the game plan that highlight getting the ball out of Patrick's hands quickly, negating and masking that ankle injury as much as possible. And guys, Andy Reid is one of the best at doing this. So I think there's a lot of things that overblew this Mahomes injury in the market this week. Eventually, I think we got back to a reasonable number, but I still think Patrick Mahomes laying less than a field goal in a home playoff game is a bargain. I honestly do. And I think they're going to win the game. I do. I think it's going to be Chiefs and Eagles in the Super Bowl. And I think we're going to be talking less about Mahomes' ankle at the end of this game and more about how great of a performance the entire Chiefs team rallied around him and able to lift what is still one of the best players, ankle or not, in the NFL.
Can I just add one sort of narrative-based thing that has bothered me for the last week here?
Sure.
And it's been ridiculous. And this is just, I guess this is the sports talk radio world and the sports talk TV world going. But the clear declarations on how Josh Allen, the Bills are in a complete free fall, and Joe Burrow is, on an MVP trajectory, and Pat Mahomes is now chasing. Like, can we stop with the overreactions to this crap? Like, it's okay to say all 3 of those guys are great. They're going to continue to be great. They're going to battle back and forth for the next 5, 7, 10 years, whatever it may be. And at some point in time, one of the guys is going to come out on top and the other one's not going to come out. We had to draw some grand conclusions after divisional weekend. To me, it was really, really silly. But, again, hot takes or not, that's where the world is. So, again, I'm with you. I think we're undervaluing the Chiefs here a little bit. And anytime you get the Chiefs less than a field goal at home, it's really hard to walk away from. And full disclosure, again, we talked about this for the show. Sunday night, when that line popped up and I had the Chiefs at I had Cincinnati plus 1.5. I locked in a tease. I took Cincinnati and San Fran. And I got to tell you, Jared, I forgot how stress relieving it is to lock into a bet Sunday night the week before the game goes and not have to worry about anything all week long. I'm done handicapping for the week. I fired on it. It was done. There's no reason for me to get caught up in the noise and everything else. I'm locked in. It was kind of a very stress-free week from that standpoint.
Yeah, the Super Bowl is in a similar vein. I usually lock in the week after the game, and then the week of the game, I don't want anything to do with anything. Like, I don't want to, like, in terms of like new handicapping, like I don't want to make any new wagers. Like I'll we'll do our research and we'll do our shows and all that fun stuff. But I tend to want to get my bets in before the true madness begins the week of the game.
The noise comes in. Exactly.
Yeah, listen, the NFL is unlike any other sport because it's talked about the most, it's bet on the most attention is given to it. So throughout the course of the week, the market's going to move in volatile ways. And like when you have an injury to Mahomes like that, it just makes it that much more intense. Like it was an intense week. Tuesday to Wednesday was one of those days. Like, you put certain days on this list where, guys get traded or there's this breaking news and this and that, and the market goes through a tangent tizzy. that was what Tuesday to Wednesday was when we first heard that. At one point, I saw people tweeting, like I have several lists on my tweet deck, and it's, people that are more rumor based, more hot take based, and then people that are information based. Both lists on Tuesday were going crazy. And that shows you how big of a day. Like it was one of those days where it didn't matter if you were information based or narrative based. You had something to say about what was going on with Patrick Mahomes' injury and the line getting all the way to Cincinnati plus 2.5 or minus 2.5. That was I can't believe it almost got the 3. Honestly, I didn't think it was ever going to, but the fact that it almost got the 3 was pretty remarkable.
Well, the only question left to ask is which list am I on? The information one or the hot take one?
You're not on either list, bud. You're not on either list. There are people that I don't work with. There are people that I don't work with.
Let's get to our good buddy Bobby Stanley, a.k.a. Prop Holiday, and here to break down championship weekend from a prop perspective as he joins us. Before we get deep into your picks here, as I look at our rundown, you and I are going head-to-head here on a prop today. I mean, straight up head-to-head. So wow. Arena with David or Goliath. Sorry, I'm David. You're Goliath. Anyway, Isaiah Pacheco, you are going over his rushing yards prop. I am firmly on the under.
Sure. All right, let me do my best to sway you guys. So I got it at 47
I'm actually on the under too. So you got to sway both of us.
Sure.
Okay, all right. I love it. It's a very popular pick this week among some of one of the big gambling podcasts gave out his under this week too. So
yes,
it's a pretty popular under.
Ooh, I love telling it all the way, Jared.
Everyone's running away from the fire, and I'm running towards it. All right, so I got the line at 47.5. It's below his season average of 51 yards per game, 72 yards per game over the last 10. So I like the number. Andy Reid, not afraid to play rookie running backs in the playoffs. We saw it with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We saw it with LaShawn McCoy in Philly. So I think the snaps are going to be there. Bengals defense looked good against Buffalo last week for 2 main reasons. They played with a lead the entire time, and the Bills are god-awful at running the ball with anyone not named Josh Allen. So I didn't come away from that saying, oh my God, this Bengals stout rush defense. If I look at Pacheco's performance against the Bengals in Week 13, 14 carries for 66 yards. So he has had success already. If you rely on Pacheco in early downs, then you're setting up Mahomes for the 3rd and shorts, and you're limiting how many of those 5 and 7 step drops he has to take. Save those for the second half of the game. Let's not chew up all that ankle usage in the first half. If I look at the Bengals rank on 3rd and short, they're 25th overall at how they defend 3rd and short. So you want to get in those situations. I don't see this. I mean, obviously, I do think Mahomes is healthier than most people thought, at least earlier in the week. But we saw explosive plays from Pacheco, and then you keep Burrow on that sideline. And the number's good. It's a good number at 47.5. So I am going over, and I guess I'm fading the sharps of the world.
Well, and Jared,
Mark, do you want to give him your spiel first, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, sure. I mean, again, as Jared mentioned, one of the sharper guys in town out where Jared is, the podcast they put out each week. I'm not the blind tail guy, but he's really, really good. And his justification was more than anything that this is about snaps and reps more than anything. Now, Pacheco, the last 2 weeks went over this number because he had a 39-yard rush and a 31-yard rush. So you would think that the Bengals would be able to eliminate that. But when it comes to taking care of Mahomes, Jerick McKinnon is the better pass blocker. And so from that standpoint, Pacheco's more likely to be off the field and McKinnon likely to be on it. And it's one of those things whenever someone can point out that point of, hey, this is an opportunity-based thing more than anything, it makes it easy for me to stand behind that. Jared, go ahead, follow up.
No, that you totally nailed it. And it's more of a scheme thing. And this could end up being wrong. This is a bet that's being made off the projection of what the game plan will be for the Chiefs, which is max protect Patrick Mahomes. If that turns out to be the case, McKinnon's going to be on the field a lot more. And it's not a running carry thing because I think Pacheco's the better ball carrier and the better ball handler. But I think this particular game plan, and again, this could be completely wrong, but the projection, and that's why the number moved down. That's why we're getting 47.5. This really was 50. I got under 50.5 earlier this week.
I got 50.5 as well, yeah.
Yeah, and this again, when this particular podcast, Todd Furman, Bet the Board, they do a fantastic job. Todd's been on our show before. When they give out a play in the prop market, it tends to move because the prop market, as you know, Bobby, pretty liquid. So if they give something out, it's going to move, and that's why I think you're getting a very favorable number here. Now that again, first of all, this thing could middle. You could finish with 48 yards, and then everyone's happy. But I think it's just I think it's just that specific strand of where the game plan might be tonight is why they like McKinnon over Pacheco. We'll see. Maybe McKinnon busts out one of those 30-yard runs and it doesn't matter. He's on the field for 10 snaps and he gets over 48 and a half yards. That could absolutely happen. But their line of thinking, which I do agree with, is the goal tonight is to keep Patrick Mahomes upright as possible. And that means maybe sacrificing the running game a little bit for the better blocker in McKinnon. So it's an interesting strategy, and we're going to see how it plays out.
One more to that.
Go ahead,
If
Mark,
they're going to sacrifice the straight run, McKinnon is the better pass catcher out of the backfield than Pacheco.
Correct.
So you're going to get more flexibility from a blocking standpoint and a pass catching standpoint.
Yeah.
Short passes, i.e. equate to runs, so to speak, if that's what people want to say. But, again, it goes back to being opportunity based.
One last thing. His rush attempts firmly at 11.5. Every book that I'm looking at has it at 11.5. When Pacheco gets 11 or more carries, so not even the 12, when he gets 11, he's hit this line in every single game. So it is an opportunity based, and let's see if he gets to that 11 mark.
All right, sounds good, bro. Good stuff. You're looking at another running back, but not for rushing yards.
This one
Mixon.
I really like.
So Mixon on the receiving end, and I was on Mixon last week for rushing and receiving. I got him at 22.5 receiving yards, and it's still 23.5. I still like it there. Last week, Cincinnati wasn't hiding anything. When Mixon was on the field in first and second down, they ran the ball. And they brought in Samaje Perine on third down. It was pretty obvious they were passing the ball. Mixon almost only ran 14 routes last week, well below his season average of 21 routes per game. I think that's going to change. We're going to see them passing the ball, I think, more on first and second down and forcing Mahomes to play from behind, where now he has to be in passing situations and in those 5 and 7 step drops. Let's not hurt Mahomes, but let's test that leg and see how comfortable he is after a couple long drives. So Mixon hit this in 5 of the last 8, and he's averaging 29 receiving yards per game of the season. We're well below his season averages on this line. I was on ETN last week of Jacksonville against this Chiefs defense because those linebackers, Harris and Willie Gay Jr., they can't cover and they can't tackle. So I went over on ETN. It hit. I'm going over on Mixon again. He's hit it in 3 straight games against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are allowing the third most receiving yards to opposing running backs in the season. So this is probably one of my favorite plays of the day. It probably is my favorite play. It's Mixon over 22.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I'm probably going to get to the window on that, but I really like that move a lot. I read something today, too, about it wasn't today. I don't even know what freaking day it was, to be honest with you. All the days blend together. It was just about how, the Chiefs defense very susceptible to the running back out of the backfield, and Mixon's been, so good in that regard that the Bengals would be foolish not to get him some design screens to test the edges and see if Kansas City's kind of tweak that vulnerability, because that's something that they have really struggled with throughout the year. AJ Brown, listen, I think it's tough to pick an Eagles receiver today because I think both of them are fantastic and they both offer very different dimensions. But I've seen a lot of love in the market for AJ Brown from some people that I trust that cover the Eagles pretty exclusively. And clearly the market loves him too because his number's gone up pretty significantly, about 10-15% throughout the week.
Yeah. So I locked this in. I think I put my article out on Pickswise.com at 67.5, and now it's at 73.5. You could still get it at 70.5. I do like it at the 70.5 if you can get it. He's averaging 84 yards per game on the year. I love being under a season average. Last week versus the Giants, Brown missed this mark for the first time in 7 games. Hat tip to Adoree Jackson, but you have to expect there's going to be a bigger role in the NFC Championship game. This is why you trade a first-round pick for A.J. Brown. Last week with San Fran, they took several deep shots. I clocked it at 4. One of those went to Lamb for a 46-yard reception. So I do think we're going to see that big explosive play from A.J. Brown, 30 or 40 yards, and then it's just really peppering in with a couple of receptions to hit this mark. San Fran's defense, Mark, I know you're all over them. They're hands down the best defense left in the playoffs, probably the best in the league. There's some back-end weakness to that secondary. They're giving up 2 20-yard receptions per game. And I think A.J. Brown gets at least one of them today. Demadre Lenore, the cornerback for the Niners, he's given up this line in 3 of the last 4. He is the weakness of that secondary. And I was listening to the Ryan Russillo podcast. He had Tim Hasselbeck on. Guy's a lot smarter than me. He said for this matchup, you need to play man defense. You need to be in a man defense to always keep someone on Jalen Hurts. If you go in man defense against A.J. Brown, you have just opened up Pandora's box. He leads the league in touchdowns against man defense. He has 6 on the season, and I do think we're going to see that explosive play. They're going to try to get up early on him and make Purdy play from behind. If I could bet a first half touchdown for A.J. Brown, that's where my money's going. So I'm going over on his receiving yards.
I don't think those exist, but I do like that.
First half does. Not probably not first quarter. Yes. And you can always bet first touchdown. You can always, that's as our guy Clemson taught us. Definitely bet first touchdown.
Yes.
While we're on A.J. Brown, you have him also for an anytime touchdown. The number is a lot bigger than you would have expected. But he's kind of been quiet, at least, he was quiet against the Giants, all things considered, from normally what we see from him. So I like A.J. Brown at the number that you're getting at. But your long shot is my favorite because Kyle Shanahan, and he typically would reserve this guy for the Super Bowl. But if they get there, I absolutely will take his over on receptions prop because Kyle Shanahan will absolutely find Kyle Juszczyk because everybody forgets that he's on the team, at least defensively. And that's when Kyle Shanahan excels at finding somebody to get the football.
Mark, you nailed it. So Kyle Juszczyk, we'll call him the fullback, the last remaining fullback in the league. He's plus 1,300 to score a touchdown. It's so damn hard to find like a long shot this late in the season in the playoffs. But to your point, he scored in the Super Bowl against Kansas City. That's his only postseason touchdown for his career. He's playing.
So did I. I remember that very well.
Yep.
Not only did I hit that, I parlayed it with the Mahomes touchdown, and I had it was like 20-1. I did a bunch of that. Was back in my degenerate days when I just would parlay touchdown props together, like a true degenerate. And I love hearing that. Mahomes and Juszczyk. It was like I forget. I'll send you the ticket. It was from like 20. It was like 25-1. It was one of my best hits I've ever had.
That's awesome. But yeah, so Juszczyk scored in the Super Bowl in the postseason. He's played 50% of the snaps in the playoffs. Purdy's going to need him for pass protection against this Eagles team that leads the league in sacks. So he's going to be on the field. And just like you said, Mark, Shanahan's going to have to get creative in the red zone. So whether it be a misdirection run where it sets up to be McCaffrey and then they have Juszczyk in the fullback, he's just going to go take it right in, or maybe they get him in the passing game. So at 13-1, that's my long shot for today if you're looking for some fun.
Love it.
All right, Bobo, before we let you go, I got a couple from my end that I'm curious because I actually did bet some props this week. As we get closer to the end of the rainbow, I do like to dabble in the prop market. I bet Jamar Chase over 83.5 receiving yards. It was just straight. His numbers against the Chiefs have just been so absurd, and they struggle a lot against number 1 wide receivers, DVOA wise. The other one I bet, and this one I probably shouldn't have bet, but I was looking at some numbers about how he does against zone coverage, and the Eagles play so much damn zone. But Deebo Samuel over 49.5 receiving yards. He has the most yards per route run against zone coverage this year. And that's pretty much what the Eagles play exclusively. And it's insane, some of the numbers for him against zone coverage. He's one newsletter that I read this week that does a really great job breaking this down, called him the zone destroyer. So of those two, basically the two best receivers today, perhaps Chase and Samuel, or I guess not on the Eagles side, but on their respective teams, which of those two do you like the best?
I would lean Debo in that. I do think the line is low enough. They use that passing game almost like a running game, and with Purdy, it's going to be short passes. Let's get him comfortable early, and then just the misdirection with him. And also, you got to remind if they do an end around, right, and Debo comes around the front and Purdy just does this.
Yeah, that's a reception. I saw some rush/receiving yard totals in the mid 70s. The rushing yard prop for Debo interests me too, but it's impossible to gauge how many carries he's going to get. He might get one, he might get 7.
If Mitchell is questionable,
Mitchell's out. I think Mitchell's out because they elevated Tevin Coleman. I think I'm basing that off of them elevating Tevin Coleman from the practice squad.
Probably a fair analysis. Then I would definitely consider the Russian receiving yards. They'll put Debo back there and give him 4 or 5 carries just to give McCaffrey a spell. I do think they're going to run McCaffrey heavy today. In the two, I want to say this, in the 2 road starts for Purdy, McCaffrey had 19 carries and 27 carries. And both of those games went well over 100. So that Eagles defense, there's a reason they picked up Linval Joseph in the middle of the season. I do think we see a lot of McCaffrey early, while they still can.
Yeah, well, the Eagles went to the D-line retirement home this season or mid-season to bolster up their defensive line because they needed to be able to stop the run. That was their weakness. But let's see how much San Fran can exploit it. All right, Bobby. Any other final notes here before we let you get out of here on Championship Sunday?
Yes, sir. I want to give one stat that I haven't heard brought up, but it caught my eye. Home team in the conference championships have won 68% of the time. Their average margin of victory is 8.2 points. So I'm going with Philly. I don't know if they get to the 8.2. I'm going with Philly money line, and I think the Chiefs win convincingly. Those are my takes today.
Convincingly.
Can you just make by 7 points at max? That would be great. Thank you.
Eagles by 7, I would be doing dances. I would go to the strip and be one of those guys that dances on one of the poles if they win by 7. That means we're cooking with gas, baby.
No. Appreciate it, guys.
Sorry for
Best
that
of luck
today. I apologize to everyone for that visual, but I would be very excited. Eagles by 7 would be a fantastic result. I think I'm going to bet an Eagles alt line today too, either -4 or -5.5. Try to get it to like +150. I haven't found one yet in town, but I'm still looking. I don't know if I'm willing to do -7.5, which is like +210. 6.5, I'd be willing to bet, but I'd prefer 4 to 5.5.
Yeah, the Niners Eagles game, I could see it going either way. I'm leaning with the home team just out of principle and Brock Purdy and that whole waiting for the ball to drop, all of that. But there's a scenario where San Fran, everything goes right their way. They run the ball effectively.
Absolutely.
They don't rely on Brock Purdy that well. But the Chiefs game, I feel confident about. I'm tired of hearing about Burrowhead. Like you said earlier in the show, Jared, that whole Burrow owns him. Two of those were at home. The one against the Chiefs, are up 21-10 in the AFC Championship game. The Chiefs just let that one get away from them.
Yeah, Mahomes threw a pick in the red zone, and at the end of the first half, if they score a touchdown there, that game's very different.
They got the mayor of Cincinnati making statements. You're poking the bear here, guys.
The mayor one was a joke. That was a joke. That guy, the city of Cincinnati doesn't have anything better to do with their time in the mayor's office than to do official press conferences about the freaking Chiefs game.
When I saw Chris Jones walk away from the podium and said, "We'll see you at Burrowhead," I was locked in. Give me the Chiefs. Yeah, that was a good one for me. But thank you guys.
I'll have one final stat for you, Bobby. Kyle Shanahan 7-1 against the number in the playoffs in his career. The only one was the loss to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl on that garbage Darnell Williams touchdown run with under a minute left that shot every teaser with San Francisco to hell. So,
yeah, that did kill every teaser in that game.
As a Rams fan, I'm very familiar with Kyle Shanahan's work. He's a damn good coach.
There you go.
I got to go find that. I got to go find that ticket of the Mahomes used check touchdown for you.
I want to see that. That's an awesome ticket.
All right, Bobby. Enjoy Championship Sunday. We'll talk to you. Thank you very, very, very much. With 2 L's, HOLLI. That Super Bowl was so good, except for the very final ending of when that touchdown went in. Not only did I lose my 49ers money line, I lost my 49ers, plus the points, and then a teaser out the window.
Niners should have won that game. Jimmy G missed the throw in the fourth quarter. The Niners really had a chance to win that game. That was a really good Super Bowl. That was one of my favorite Super Bowls in recent memory. It really was.
Absolutely. All right, that time of day here, Jared. Before we get to Pickswise.com, the 3-star plays and our plays of the day, let's get to Let's Bet It being presented by Superbook Sports. Can you beat Vegas this football season? Superbook gives you the chance every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. No fancy computer algorithms. No one across the pond setting lines for American sports. Just the best team of traders in the business at the Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, some of the best odds, boosts, and promo bets in the country. So if you're in Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Nevada, New Jersey, or Tennessee, download the Superbook Sports app or visit superbook.com to start your battle against Vegas. Jared, before we get to our plays of the day, Pickswise.com has several plays up there. Tell us what we have.
Yeah, and it's mostly undersweats from you and Howard Bender. Bengals, Chiefs, and Niners, Eagles. And you guys are both going to be sweating this one out. because unders, it can get sweaty. And then we also have Martin Pennington, Santa Anita race 3. If you guys are really interested in I'll be honest, no one's going to be watching that race at 4:29 Eastern time. But if you are interested in betting the ponies today, Martin Pennington does have a bet for you. And then after all of the NFL proceedings, actually this game will start about halftime of the Chiefs-Bengals game, but then it'll be your late night sweat. Philip Tomich has a total for you in Pelicans-Bucks if you're interested in getting involved with the NBA tonight. So 4 3-stars on the site for
Hold on
Sunday.
a second. Now I got to check what Philip Tomich has in that game because I had to do a write-up for that game or a handicap for that game. And I'm curious.
He's got the over 233.5.
Does. Wow. Very interesting. All right. I kind of feel like, though.
NBA totals this year. I feel like he has
he's
one
great.
at least almost every day. Yeah, he's great.
Here's my fear in that game. One, New Orleans offense has been in the tank over the last 2+ weeks. They're only averaging 101 points per game. So Milwaukee's not exactly going to have to press to get over that number. And plus with, I know it's a primetime game on TV, like on Sunday night against no NFL. Well, I guess it is against NFL, obviously.
Half of the NFL.
Mostly the NFL.
No NFL.
I would think that this might be an opportune time to get some starters some rest against a really bad fledgling team. That's my biggest concern in the game, is that Milwaukee may say, hey,
you would know better than me, bud, because I've watched this much of both of these teams this year.
All right, let's get the teams we have watched. Plays of the day, beauty before age. Jared, tee us up.
Oh, Mark, so kind. So I went back and forth here. I think it's going to be Chiefs and Eagles. I will give you that now. I think we're going to get 2 weeks of Andy Reid nostalgia porn, and that's what our Super Bowl matchup will be. I gave out best bet. Yeah, that's another disturbing visual. I gave out in the column this week, Eagles laying 2.5. I'll be honest, I don't know if we're going to get that come game time. It does look like one shop here in town is still hanging a regularly priced 2.5. The rest of the market right now is trending towards 3. And I think that's where we close. Maybe not right at 3. Maybe it's 2.75. Again, minus 2.5, minus 20. I could see that being the closing line. But I do think the Eagles market is starting to get bought up to a point where probably not a ton of value there once it hits 3. So if you do like this bet and you want to get in on Philly, I would bet it right now because over the next 2 to 3 hours or so, I do think we're gonna touch 3. And this is a pretty simple handicap. I think both teams are very relatively even. I think both defenses are legit. I think the Niners are maybe the secondary is a little bit more susceptible. I think the Eagles secondary is the better of the 2 secondaries. I think the coaching matchup is relatively even. I would give a slight edge to Sirianni in terms of his aggression and time management. I think Shanahan can be a little bit conservative at times with his decisions. We saw that a little bit last week too. But I really think this game is won at the quarterback position, like most games are in the NFL, because everything else is pretty even with this game. But one quarterback is going to be on the MVP podium next week, and the other one is a 7th-round rookie that has played very well, and I take nothing away from everything he's accomplished. But at the end of the day, he's played 7 games in the NFL, and he's a rookie. And the other guy is an MVP candidate, and I think he's going to show that today. And there's been a lot of talk about Hurts and, the Chris Sims stuff this week. And I think he's going to play really well in this game. And I think he's going to show you why he deserves to be on the MVP podium. Not to win it. He's not there yet. But he deserves to be in that conversation with Mahomes and Burrow and all those other guys. So I think that's how I feel about this game. I think it's a simple quarterback handicap. And I give Jalen Hurts the edge over Brock Purdy. And I'm laying less than a field goal. So I feel comfortable with the Eagles laying 2.5 as my play of the day.
All right, for my play of the day, and again, it's up on the website, Pickswise.com is a 3-star play here. Going to take the under between Kansas City and Cincinnati. Right now, you're seeing that number at 48. Before we get to the, Patrick Mahomes stuff here, let's just get some background here because the Chiefs actually score less at home this year than they do on the road. 6 of the last 7 at Arrowhead have gone under the total. Cincinnati has seen similar success to the under on the road as well. 11 of their last 15 games away from Paul Brown Stadium stayed under the total. Now, both of these teams aren't exactly great running the football, and Cincinnati is terrible running the football on the road. But with it being very cold, wind expected, I think you see a slower start to this game, Jared. In fact, I don't think the first half under 23.5 is a bad play at all, particularly also because Cincinnati seems to have started slow and then always seems to be playing catch-up in the second half of these games. I don't think it's going to shock anybody to see this game get into the high 20s or even low 30s. But that's where the Mahomes injury starts to come into play. How much will they be able to score? How fast will they be able to play with him hobbled a little bit, to say the least? Now, the 3 previous meetings all got to at least 51. So it was no surprise to see this number open at that point or even higher. It quickly got bet down due to the injury. Now we're back up here again, above a key number of 47, sitting at 48. Earlier in the week, there was a sharp discrepancy with 33% of the tickets on the under, but 60% of the money. Now we're back down to about 55% of the money, but you're seeing some over money coming again as we move from 47.5 to 48. Finally, I talked about this last week. I'll talk about it again because I think when it comes to high-profile games and refereeing, the league is very, very cautious about what crews they put on there. They put them on there for a reason to let them stay true to what they do. Ron Torbert and his crew will call this game. Over the past 2 seasons, games officiated with Torbert, 25-10 to the under. That's 71%. And Torbert called the second fewest penalties in total in 2021. If defenses are allowed to play, and I think they will be, it's going to help the under greatly. So I'll take under 48 here between Cincinnati and Kansas City in the AFC Championship game for my play of the day. All right, that'll do it for us here on Let's Bet It here on this Championship Sunday. Make sure you guys download the Pickswise app. It's available in the Apple Store and Google Play. Subscribe to the Pickswise YouTube channel as well. Give a thumbs up and a like to the content there. For Jared Smith, I'm Mark Zinner. Appreciate you guys watching. Back tomorrow for a recap of Championship Sunday. You guys have a wonderful day. Go cash some tickets. Go get it. Go bet it. We'll talk to you tomorrow.